Welcome to the Virginia HIMSS channel. I am Ian, and today I am happy to welcome Leigh Williams from Augusta Health to join us today. Leigh, how
Good
you
morning.
doing?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
Doing good, doing good. So we're gonna jump right in. I want to know, do you like to travel, and if so, where are your favorite places to go?
Oh, I absolutely love to travel, and I know that this is not a travel podcast, so I will keep my answer short. But I've lived in Europe a couple of times, in Germany and in England, and Italy right now is my absolute favorite. I've been several times. I also love to travel within the United States, and we have a home in Maine, so I spend several weeks a year up in New England. And then I like going different and new places just to try the food that they have and meet the people because this earth is amazing with new opportunities. So travel is one of my favorite things.
Second question. This is probably an easier one. Usually people kind of jump right on this one. Are you more of a morning person or a night owl?
I'm more of a don't stop. So I used to
Constant.
be I used to be a night owl, and I still don't particularly like getting up in the morning, but my days start early, in technology and healthcare we go. So I try to make sure that I get 8 hours of sleep a night and I fit that in somewhere. So sleep is important. I think my schedule changes depending on what the dog needs.
Understood. Understood. But tell us a little bit about yourself, personally first, and then professionally.
Okay. So I am a chef, cook. I love to grow anything in my garden that is edible. So I have a kitchen garden with herbs and tomatoes and eggplant, and my asparagus are coming in nicely this year after 3 years. I have twins. They are sophomores in high school, two boys, Sam and Thomas. They are not fans of the garden and don't like working outside. So try to find other fun things like travel to do with them. Um, I am originally from New England. I grew up in Massachusetts, but I've lived in Germany, England, Tennessee, Mississippi, Arizona, Maine, and now I'm in beautiful Virginia. And I picked this place particularly because I wanted to go somewhere that had four seasons
Mm.
and that had a great culture and is beautiful. Those were all really fun things for me to pick while we were looking at where to go, and that would be a good place to raise the boys. So I've been in Virginia since 2015 when I came up here. So I'm going to segue into the professional stuff.
Sure.
I moved to Virginia in 2015 to join the University of Virginia Health System as the administrator for business systems. And I moved over to Augusta Health in 2021. So at 1 year into the pandemic, and I currently am in the administrative director of IT. So here I have responsibility for all IT operations for the health system.
Excellent. Excellent. What really drew you into healthcare? You listed, all the movement and things like that, but what drew you to healthcare specifically?
Yeah. So I got my start in revenue cycle. And so I was doing some work on billing for clients, et cetera, for an attorney. So for a law firm. And I had an experience one day where I was assigned to tell all of the employees that our benefits had been cut because it was back in 2007, 8 with the crash. And so we were going to be reducing benefits. And later that afternoon, I was the person that cut the bonus checks for the attorneys and was delivering six-figure bonus checks, not their salary, just a quarterly bonus
Right.
to six people. And it was such a striking contrast between telling people that we're making 35, 40 grand a year that we weren't going to put two or $3,000 into their retirement account this year because of the financial hardship, and then go hand one person a check that would have paid for all of that. I felt a conflict, and I felt like if I'm going to get up and work as hard as I do every day, I'm not going to do it with people that are different mindset from what I have. So I had worked at a health system in Tennessee early on in my career. And when I thought about, okay, if not law, then what? And I joined healthcare, and I absolutely love it. If I am going to work as hard as I do, and I am a fairly hardworking person, I want to know that my efforts benefit our communities, individuals, my family, our families. That makes me have a great passion and drive to do the best job that I can. So it took learning what I didn't want to do and where I
Right.
didn't want to be to
Right.
really get to healthcare, and I would never leave it. I love it.
Awesome. Awesome. So that's actually going to lead into a question a little bit later on, actually. What are some of your personal goals? So you've been in healthcare for a little while and you talked about that, but what are like some of your personal goals and priority within the health IT field?
That's a great question. So, health IT, and I've been doing healthcare IT for a couple of decades now, and I feel like we're finally at the stage where all of those promises and dreams and ideas that people had in the early 21st century, so I'm talking 2000, 2005, 2007, EHRs were coming into every practice. I went through several implementations, and they were going to change the world and change how we worked, and it was going to be so much more efficient. And I think that's true, but it took 20 years to get to the point where right now we're talking about optimization
Hmm.
and digital transformation, and how do we innovate and meet the challenges of modern healthcare delivery using technology. So my personal goal is to stay really well informed about technology and be able, and my organization, and be able to match those two up so that we see where are the opportunities to leverage technology to do the transformative work that we want, so that we can bring better care to our communities, but also better well-being to our caregivers. So I think technology has a real role to play there, and personally that's where I'm committed. We run a shop every day where there's day in day out grind work. We keep the lights on, but
Right.
to me, the most important work that I personally do is identifying those opportunities for improvement, and then partnering with my caregiver colleagues to make sure that they're getting what they need out of technology.
Excellent. Excellent. So how important do you believe that mentors are in the health IT profession? And what's sort of your mentoring style?
So, mentoring is incredibly important to me as a way that I do my work. And it has been important to me throughout my career. Although I would say early on, back in the start of the 21st century, it wasn't a thing that people did quite as much. And I had a lot of a difficult time getting traction with anyone. And mostly, I found myself being taught by people that weren't trying to mentor me, but they either did something amazing and I wanted to mimic that, or they did something that wasn't great. And I thought, that's not me and that's not who I want to be. So I really hadn't, I wouldn't say that I had any mentors up until recently. But since I joined Augusta Health, I've worked with a couple of really amazing people, and both of them are past presidents of Virginia HIMSS.
Hmm.
So Leigh Williams Carlson, who has been a CIO in Virginia for many years and is an amazing person, she was fantastic in helping me think about how I want to show up every day. What is my brand? What is the way I want to do my work as a CIO? What is it that you want to demonstrate to your organization? Really good thinking around how to craft my personal brand and integrity. That was really helpful. And then Mike Canfield, who is our current CIO and my boss at Augusta Health, and he is amazing. Every single day, he gives me from little tiny snippets of things to do to big ways of thinking and how to interact with people. Mike just incorporates his mentoring into every interaction that we have. And I am incredibly fortunate to have a boss like that. That is not something that has ever happened to me before in my career. And I'm very mindful right now that it is something that I appreciate and I
Yeah.
have, and I'm trying to do the best to get the most out of it.
Yeah.
So I mentor several folks that I've been mentoring for years. I also am always mentoring my entire department. I teach a class on Friday afternoons that we call lifelong learning, introduce different subjects. Last month was how to get things done without making people mad. So it was about
That's tough.
execution,
That's
but
tough. Yeah.
maintaining relationships and reputation. And then next month, we're going to talk about what is innovation and what does it mean at Augusta Health. So I take time every month to prepare a curriculum and to pass it on. So that way I can reach a broad audience.
Sure.
And then I also do a lot like Mike does every day, trying to help as I guide my team members, not only to understand what outcome we want, but why, so that they learn to think, right? So that it's
Right.
not just I'm telling you what to do, but I'm teaching you how to do this thinking so that you can apply that in the future. So I do that every day. And then I've got a few formal relationships with folks that have asked me to mentor them. And my advice on mentoring is if someone says yes and offers that, meet them more than halfway. It has to be on the mentee
Yeah.
to identify what they want to talk about, where they want to focus, how they want to make progress, and people that are doing mentoring are often time constrained. So you have to make it valuable. And when you find those individuals like Leigh and Mike who are willing to give their time in an otherwise time constrained day, that's a gift, and you should treat it like that is. So I try to do that and bring that into my relationships with the people that mentor me. And I usually give the mentees advice up front. Make sure we're both getting something out of this so we continue to want together.
Right.
Yeah.
No, that is excellent. What shows are you currently binge watching?
Oh, A Gentleman in Moscow came out on Netflix, and I read that book last year. My mother had been trying to get me to read it for probably, I don't know, 5 or 6 years. And I finally took it up when we were in Maine last summer. I was sitting on an Adirondack chair in the backyard and watching the birds, which is something that I enjoy doing as well, and got into it. And it is the most amazing story. Highly recommend Gentleman in Moscow. In fact, I gave it to Mike Canfield for Christmas. That was one of my gifts to him, because it's all about culture and change and how people adapt and what really fundamentally matters to you as a person, and how do you keep your integrity and the person that you are no matter what the circumstances going around. So I don't know that ever I've seen a book that was fully formed in the show. So when they make that transition to media, there's often a change.
Yeah.
And George R.R. Martin once gave an interview about Game of Thrones, and people were complaining that it wasn't true to the book in the TV show, which was a huge success.
Sure.
And his point was that television is a different media.
Yes.
And the way that you tell stories is different when there is a visual representation. And he pointed out that even things like the actor brings voice and body and personality to a character, and people watching the show respond differently than when it's just written out.
Absolutely.
The showrunners would adjust maybe how much screen time a particular character was getting, for example, because the audience really responded well to that actor and to seeing that visual portrayal. So I don't get too hung up when the show is different than the book, but I'm really, really enjoying just the world and the concepts, and it's a beautifully done show. So that one is top on my list right now.
Excellent. Well, what drew you to Virginia HIMSS, the board specifically?
Yeah, so I had been on the board in Mississippi. I worked in Jackson, Mississippi at the Academic Medical Center there for the University of Mississippi for many years.
Okay.
And in that organization and in that state, the HIMSS chapter was largely led by mostly analysts, and we gave great conferences. They had really hands-on topics and some really good participation. So I enjoyed being a speaker at those and being heavily engaged there and really participating a lot with that board. So when I moved to Virginia, one of the first things that I did was attend the fall conference. So this would have been Fall Conference 2015.
Okay.
And they had tables for different organizations. So I sat with my colleagues from UVA, and Matt Curtin, who is one of our past presidents, he walked up to me at some point, it was maybe a coffee break, and said, "Hey, UVA, how are you doing?" And so he didn't know anything about me other than I worked at UVA because I was at the UVA table,
Right.
and I didn't know anybody in Virginia. So I started talking to Matt, and he was really great about telling me what was going on with the board and connected me in, started making some relationships with other board members. There were some fantastic folks, and there are some fantastic folks still as well. And so just started working alongside people. I first took on a role as membership chair. That was my first seat, which was fun for me because it was about engaging people from across the entire Commonwealth. And then I moved into the president-elect, past president, which is a 3-year arc. So did that. Got really into running the fall conference, which is amazing. And then I was the special interest group chair for women in health IT for a year. And most recently took on communications, and now I share communications with Ian Mack. So you and I have been doing a lot together.
We can go ahead and say that's me. That's me.
Yeah, that's so we've been doing a lot together, and I'm so thrilled to see all the stuff Ian's brought to this. So now I'm talking to those of you watching this. Our YouTube channel is a new thing for us, and it's such an amazing thing to work alongside the talented individuals on the Virginia HIMSS board and see how we continue to really do as much outreach as we can and education as we can in Virginia.
Could you describe the role of HIMSS that HIMSS Virginia plays within the healthcare community?
Sure. So we are specifically invested in education and professional development around healthcare IT. So I participate in a lot of different healthcare organizations. HIMSS is, to me, the one that has the niche of being the community and contributor of education for everyone in health IT, not just CIOs. So we have CHIME, which is the College of Healthcare Information Management Executives. And that one I belong to. It's amazing. We get a lot out of that, but that is really focused on the CIO community. HIMSS is focused on the entire health IT community. So I think we serve that niche role that, unlike other healthcare professional societies, it's all about the technology. We often work alongside or think about the same things as like the Healthcare Financial Management Association, HFMA. So technology does touch business within healthcare, not only the actual care provision, but we've got a really nice niche to help, especially developing healthcare IT professionals, to provide that education and development.
Yeah, no, that is so key. So you were talking earlier about traveling and getting out to different areas. So I have to ask, do you speak more than one language?
Doch. Deutsch, io parlo un po' di italiano, je parle un petit peu français, and I'm pretty good at English.
See, awesome. So I heard French,
I speak, yeah,
Italian,
I speak German. So I lived in
German.
Germany for a while. I speak German, rusty right now, but if I were to go back over there within a week or two, I'd pick it back up.
Yeah,
I have been intently studying Italian. So I picked that up about a year and a half ago, and I practice every day. So I use Duolingo, and I spend at least 5 to 10 minutes every day practicing Italian. And it's remarkable how much you can learn with that. So I'm really looking forward to going back to Italy and seeing how my skills have improved.
oh yeah,
I've also spent, when I lived in Germany, we were on the border with France, and my parents have lived in Paris a few times. So French is and my family, my mother's family, were all French Canadians. My grandmother actually grew up speaking French. So that is more of a family language for me. So I speak just enough to be dangerous and get a table at a restaurant.
that's right.
And then, of course, English is something that it's weird to say that you study English, but I have been an academic, and I've authored a book, and language is incredibly important to communication. So I also study a lot of negotiating in English and all of those. Anything I'm
Sure.
doing, persuasion, presentation, negotiating, those are all in English. So I like to always end with, and I'm pretty good at English.
Gotcha, gotcha. So you authored a book. I was gonna say, tell us the name of the book. What book
Oh
is it?
yeah. So as part of my work in Mississippi, when I was at the University of Mississippi Medical Center, we had the chore of doing an EHR implementation. We went from paper to 32 Epic modules overnight, big bang, all
Yeah,
one day.
yeah,
And then about a year later, I had to help lead the ICD-10 conversion. So I was over a physician revenue cycle at that point, and the ICD-10 conversion was a difficult thing to get physicians to want to sit down and learn. It was incredibly boring. The same with the technology stuff. So my interest, and I partnered with the Chief Medical Information Officer, John Showalter, great colleague of mine. We worked together closely for years, and we started giving presentations at conferences like Becker's and HIMSS and others. And so I got an offer from HIMSS Media actually to write down some of our thoughts. And so the book that we produced was called Mastering Physician Engagement. And it is all about how do you get clinicians engaged and wanting to adapt and adopt ICD-10, EHRs, technology, rev
sure.
cycle, billing stuff, all the boring things. So
Right, right,
it's all the stuff that isn't actual caregiving or clinical
right.
practice. It's the other things they have to do. And
Yeah,
that was really fun to work on with John. So we worked together for several years using and practicing what we were thinking about, and then just wrote it up at the end.
excellent, excellent. So you were talking about with language, it's immersion, getting in the middle of it. And when you're, if you're in Italy, your Italian's going to get better. Like it's just, it's the natural thing, like that type of a feel. So transitioning back just a little bit with that same thought of, immersion and getting yourself right in the center. What advice do you have for new ones that are looking to get involved with HIMSS?
Oh, well, just show up. That is, I mean, that's what I'd say. I'm sitting here talking to my friend Ian. He just showed up and he kept showing up, right? So that's
No
when
matter
Matt Kurtz
what,
said
it was, yeah.
UVA, hey, UVA, what's going on? I showed up. So if you are interested in getting engaged, participating in our events, which we have usually 4 to 5, 6 a year, depends on the year, depends on whether there's a pandemic, what's going on, who's leading stuff.
Yeah.
But there's always volunteer boards are all volunteer people. So we all do this as part of our giving back to the community. I think you'll find it's a bunch of like-minded people that want to continue to push the profession forward. So we've got a data symposium in May that's run by Penny Cooper. She is an amazing data scientist and is bringing together a lot of students and also clinicians who are sharing their data work. Our fall conference in the fall always has a broad range of topics and something for everyone. They're a great place to network and meet people. And then any of our other special interest groups. And if you show up, ask at the registration desk, is there a board member I could talk to about what's going on? We'd all be happy to talk with you. Our photos are on our website and we've got this YouTube channel. So if you see us, we actually do try to dedicate some time to new members, especially at the fall conference. We have a new member reception.
Mm-hmm.
So just make some connections to folks. You can even drop us an email. The thing that's going to help is what are you interested in helping with? Some people really like the financial aspect,
Right.
or they want to do some presentation, or they are interested in security, or whatever the bent is. It helps us to understand what your passion is and where you'd like to contribute. And then we've got some great mentors that are willing to work, just like Ian and I are today, right? You and I work together. You've done an amazing job with this stuff, but it was your expressing, I'd like to get involved with communications, and that's something that you were interested in. And I have been really, really grateful to have your help. So this is working. This is a good example of how it works out.
Yeah. No, absolutely. 1,000%. And Leigh is very patient, and that's important. So that's very, very good to work with somebody like that, for sure. In your time in the industry, in the health IT, healthcare industry itself, what changes have you seen? Maybe not starting from scratch, but till now, in the last, maybe say 10 years or 10, 15 years.
Like big trend changes?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm going to bore everybody and say AI. AI is the thing.
Yes.
I won't talk too much about that because that's really cool, and I think it's one of those ways that we're realizing. When I said, EHRs came in and it had all this promise, and we were going to do things differently, and it was going to really make things more efficient, and provider well-being was important. And it's taken us 20 years to really start to realize some of those efficiencies and to value that provider well-being and take away their pajama time of sitting at the computer after a long day of seeing patients and then having to write everything down. Right. Those billing requirements and regulatory requirements have put a lot of burden into the EHRs that are unavoidable. We have to make do with them. But I really think now, so what I like is the changes that I've seen in the last few years, which I do think were spurred on by the global health epidemic. So we had a health emergency that we had to respond to, and provider burnout became an incredibly important topic because they are people, and technology is meant to, the idea is it makes things more efficient and easier. So things like voice ambient dictation is a really cool thing right now. So we're looking at that for providers to be able to have a conversation with their patients in the room. And when they finish, there's a structured note that meets all of the requirements that they just then will review, revise, and submit. If we can do things like that, I think that's a really cool innovation, using microphones, using the EHR, using voice to text, that can possibly bring some shorter days to our clinicians.
Right.
I love things like virtual nursing. So using remote monitoring capabilities, so we've got cameras, we've got monitors.
Right.
We got to get patients used to that and make sure that we're using it properly.
Sure.
But Augusta Health has recently opened a virtual nursing, remote nursing unit, and it's been amazing watching how that is actually helping with efficiency and allowing nurses that may have some physical constraints. Maybe they can't do 412s on the floor anymore, but they don't want to retire or get out of the game. They want to continue contributing. We can now have a better schedule and a better role for them, but they're still present with our nurses that need a preceptor, that are learning things. So
Sure.
no, I think there's a lot of really cool stuff. And I am not a big fan of complex solutions that make things harder. So a little Chris Christensen there. Good solutions should make things simpler.
Right.
So what are those technologies that we can use, like a camera, a monitor, a microphone, that allow us to work differently
Sure.
without some huge lift? I think AI is amazing, and a lot of the hard lift still remains, but data scientists over the last, and natural language modules and all of the different ways that people are looking at this has really advanced to the point where now it's becoming applicable and trustworthy.
Right. Yeah.
So that will be cool to see how that works as well. And then I think just overall, the evolution of the healthcare workforce, where we're just being amazing teams right now. There's a lot of respect between different roles. I think very different than it was 30, 40 years ago.
Sure.
Really appreciating all of the different facets. So making technologists feel valued, and nurses feel valued, and our nutrition services feel valued. It takes this entire village to deliver great community care. So watching how healthcare teams have really gone beyond just a doctor in charge of a bunch of nurses, it is so much more collaborative these days, and that is amazing.
Let me ask, are there some key milestones or notable projects that you'd like to share about? It's a chance to brag about your teams over the years or anything like that throughout your career that you've kind of covered.
Yeah, sure. So I'll give some recent examples from my amazing Augusta Health team. We have really grown together. I've been here now three and a half years, and we've been doing everything from process improvement within IT. We really focus on service delivery. We have a program where we're doing Eliminate Waste, which is a Lean Six Sigma type of thought, to be able to stop doing non-value add work. And they've come up with some great ways to automate things. If if the task is repeatable, how can we use automation, robotic process automation, or even just some of the tools that our M365 product brings to us? But the team that does interoperability has worked on some cool stuff of just easing communications, making it so that one person doesn't have to pick it up, read it, forward it to somebody.
Sure.
We have triggers that say, hey, send that on. So Luke and Wes have been doing a lot of that. And then all of our clinical applications team that's done work with our virtual nursing. So getting that stood up, we have a couple of different ways that we're doing that, but really looking to best use technology to make nursing as effective, safe, quality as possible. So even from the workstation teams that are setting up the rooms with the monitors and making sure the microphones work, to the applications folks that are making sure that we can interface with the application easily, trainers who are teaching nurses how to use the technology differently, and our network and systems engineers who are making sure that this heavy data load is able. So now we're doing real-time video in 32 rooms, making sure that that is never a blip or can you imagine if you were freezing every time when a patient wouldn't want that experience? It would be really difficult on the nurse that was in the room. So the network and systems engineering team has done a phenomenal job with that. And it's, again, how it brings all of the different disciplines, right?
Sure.
Our telephony guys have been doing amazing stuff around integrated clinical communications. So making sure that no matter where you are on our campus, that you can talk to one another, and that we can ensure the privacy of our patients and the safety of our patients. Tools that enable us to communicate without broadcasting it everywhere have been really neat as well. I could go on and on.
No, that's great. And that just shows how much involvement you have, how much there's always something happening. Again,
Oh yeah.
health IT. If there's always something happening, and Augusta Health, of course. I mean, hey, y'all are leading the charge here lately on a couple of the events as well and things like that.
Yes.
So, yeah,
Yeah. We have a real mission around supporting all of our communities. And I love being engaged in this way where I feel like our team every day impacts the health and well-being of not only the patients that come here, but their families and the communities that surround our organization. And we think as an organization so intently about how to best provide our services and connect with our community. It's been an amazing journey, and having our IT professionals feel valued as contributors to that, that we're the heroes of the heroes, right? We heard all about healthcare heroes during
sure.
the pandemic. And a lot of times we've been doing a lot with telehealth. I didn't mention that before, but
Yeah,
virtual visits and enabling self-scheduling, things like that, that our ambulatory team has been working on very diligently, and just getting everybody involved in how we deliver healthcare more efficiently, more effectively, cost control, so that we make sure it doesn't just,
gotcha.
you could have the best idea and it's too expensive.
Yeah.
That's not going to be something people use. And then making sure that it's good quality, patient safety, and privacy for them.
Staying up to date with the latest developments in health IT. Is there anything specific that you do, or any specific podcasts you listen to, or magazines, that type of a thing? Any
Yeah.
suggestions?
Yeah. So I recommend, when people ask this question, how do I know what's going on?
Yeah.
So I am a member of HIMSS. I'm a member of CHIME, that's the College of Healthcare Information Management Executives. I'm a member of HFMA, which is financial, so revenue cycle, patient access fits in there. I am a member of the American College of Healthcare Executives, which is, if you see FACHE after almost every CEO, COO that I know, that is the healthcare executive group that many of our operational colleagues belong to. So I am an active member in all four of those. So revenue cycle, operations, IT, and then the one that's specific to CIO role in healthcare. And they all produce excellent webinars and newsletters. Um, the American College of Healthcare Executives publishes Healthcare Executive, which is actual journal, a peer-reviewed journal every month. So reading a lot of those. Healthcare IT news, Healthcare IT Today. There's at LinkedIn, I follow a bunch of those sites.
Right.
Gartner has really good stuff that right now in my career I'm enjoying reading theirs. They have a CIO mindset podcast that I listen to
Okay.
frequently, and they also produce a lot of webinars. If you go out to like Kaufman Hall or Becker's or Gartner, Class, they offer, so Class is KLAS, which does a lot of the benchmarking. Scottsdale Institute is another place. I am listing them off rapidly because I do, on my commute, I usually listen to podcasts or
That's it.
news
Yeah.
articles.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then there's the good ones like CIO 100, and the New York Daily is an amazing podcast that just keeps you up to date on what's going on in the planet. And they frequently will have either topics that touch on healthcare or technology or both. So I listen to that podcast a lot. But I suggest to folks, be a lifelong learner. Don't worry. Oh, I also read a ton. Like, I could scare you with how many books I have. I probably have over 100 books here in my office. Last night I was reading Better Healthcare Through Math, which is produced by the founders of LeanTOS, and it has to do with OR scheduling using AI. So I think and read a lot, and what I recommend to people is figure out what works for you. Do you like videos? YouTube's got amazing stuff, and TED Talks are fantastic. So in my
Yeah.
class I teach, we look at TED Talks, we look at podcasts. I think it's important that every person figure out what their learning style is. What do you like to do, and what are you going to do regularly, right? So I have certain disciplines around reading certain productions and publications on a regular basis, monthly, quarterly, etc. But just infusing your day with something that helps you stay invigorated and interested and curious. Those are the things that make technologists really good. So whether that's going to be TED Talks or a podcast or a chapter in a book or a journal article, try out a few different things and see what you like.
Gotcha. No, that's excellent, excellent advice. for aspiring professionals looking to either get into the field, or they're newer in the field, or students, that type of thing, what advice do you give them career wise? What advice do you give them to kind of continue moving forward?
Yeah, this one has been something that I think about. I lead large IT teams that have people all the way from entry level through amazing experts. And the thing that I think makes us most successful in work, I'm going to sound a little like Thomas Jefferson here and Ben Franklin, people that know these trends. They don't have to be modern, they don't have to be current. Got to work hard, build your relationships with people, care about how you come across at work. Be curious, be interested, so you get engaged and you want to do things. Degrees and certifications I have many of each. So I have a master's in health informatics, and I have so many letters after my name in terms of certifications that I have to pick and choose what I want to list, because otherwise it looks really silly. I think those are good ways to ensure that you're getting traditional education that is book learning, right? So that is important, and that for me works really well for me. I also think that the number one thing I'm looking for when I hire, so if I have two candidates that on paper are pretty similar, it's going to be their work ethic, their enthusiasm, their ability to work with the team to fit the culture of the place that they're applying to.
Sure.
So worry as much about the job that you're doing today and how well you're doing it and how you can excel. That's what's going to help you move up more than degrees and certifications. Those things open doors. I often think of them as a key, right? I could not have ever become a director if I didn't have a master's degree.
Right.
It was simply a requirement at the organization I was working in. So I went ahead and took care of that. The twins were two. I was a director. It was not easy. I got it done. So I encourage people to really pick the time in your life when that's the right thing.
Sure.
But even if you're not doing that type of stuff, every day you show up for work, think about how you're showing up, your enthusiasm level. What are you doing to make a difference? How are you driving results for the organization so that you stand out as someone with a great work ethic, good integrity? Those are things that matter just as much as what you have on paper.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Taking health IT off the table. So we're going to take that off the table. If you could have a career in anything, what would it be?
Travel guide chef. Travel guide chef. I don't know. I would absolutely love a job that let me travel. I look at those Instagram vloggers that go all over the planet. And they're like, I'm in Cinque Terre, and now I'm in Panama, and tomorrow I'm in Portugal. That would be amazing to make a job doing that. But I also have kids, and I don't know that I want to be that family that buys a yacht and sails around the world, and the kids get home on the boat. I love cooking. I love the gardening. So I might do something with horticulture. So I've actually been a master gardener as well. My minor in college was horticulture. I actually spent a few years studying climate change impacts on plant communities when I was in Tennessee. So perchance I would be a farm to table contributor, whether that's cooking the food or growing the food.
Okay.
That would be, if I had to stay in one place, that's what I would do.
That is awesome. So we know.
And I do that after work.
Yeah. I was gonna say, so you're the person we see you at the conference. You're the one hit up for all the tips on every plant. It's something in our garden. House plants, like any plants, any type of grow. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, vegetables in particular. Vegetables and herbs are my passion. I love, because then you can turn them into fantastic food.
Absolutely, herbs are the greatest. That is absolutely. I'm 100% with you. All right, final question. Toughest one. This is going to be a tough one. So, coffee or tea?
Coffee, decaf, which makes people really, they think I'm weird, but I had to do IVF to get my twins, which was all worth it, amazing. And thank you, scientists, for bringing that to the table. But with that protocol, I was told by my doctor about, the boys are 16, so 19 years ago, that I needed to quit caffeine. And so I gave it up. So for 19 years, I have not had any caffeine, because while you're pregnant or you're breastfeeding or any of those things, you're not supposed to drink caffeine. And it went about 5 years before since I had caffeine. And when I tried again, I shake. And I don't know if you guys can tell, I'm a little high energy anyway. So
this is without caffeine. This is not caffeine.
chocolate made my body respond the way that caffeine does, because I just don't like it. I don't like how it makes me feel.
Hmm.
So I don't do it. So I always say coffee, and then people think I'm ridiculous because I don't put caffeine in it. But I don't drink coffee for I don't drink coffee for the caffeine rush. I drink it because I enjoy the flavor, and I love a really dark roast. So it's one of my favorite drinks.
Excellent. So we'll definitely have to have some of that for the annual conference that's coming up
Oh
in a
yeah,
few months. So yeah, for sure.
sure the
Decaf,
decaf is out
decaf.
there.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Well, Leigh, thank you so much. This has been really awesome getting to know you and hear more about you and your thoughts on Virginia Hymns and how everything is coming together. And again, how long have you been on the board again? I think
I
I
joined in
covered that earlier.
2016, so
2016. Okay.
yeah, what is that? 8 years.
Yeah, yeah. So again, former president. Go ahead.
I've been nowhere near the longest term. I think Kim and David and Terry and Kyle and McRae. That's one of the best things about the board, is that we have some folks that have been contributing for literally 2 decades.
Yeah,
And Kim Hardesty, she shows up. She's our treasurer. She's amazing.
Kim's
She
awesome.
shows up for every event.
Yeah,
McRae is our co-treasurer. He's at every event. So there are people that keep me on the board because they've given decades of service.
sure.
And we just keep it running. And then I like the new folks that we have as well, like Ian and Thomas and others, that Aaron and folks that are coming around and helping us out now. So it's been really fun for me. And yeah, so 8 years, and that's fair to Midland. The Matt Curtins of the world are on like 20.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I started looking through. I'm like, good grief, wow. Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, excellent. Again, thank you so much. And for anyone who is watching for the first time, I have to, of course, you have to do the YouTube thing here. Be sure to like,
Uh-huh.
share, subscribe, make a comment below. But other than that, the biggest thing is come join us if you're not a member already. Join us if you're at one of the bigger healthcare communities within Virginia. So if UVA, VCU, ones like that, Carillion as well, Augusta Health. If you're in related to any of those, you look for your organizational affiliate. So your organizational affiliate, you may be a member already. It may cost you nothing. It all is a matter of clicking and signing up. So
Yeah.
come be a part. Come join us. Like I said, we have a few conferences coming up. They've been scrolling along the bottom as well. So yeah, come see us. Other than that, this is Ian with HIMSS Virginia and Leigh signing off. See you
Thank you
later.
all.